All right, let's go to our next live guest, the great Troy Miller. He is the president of National Religious Broadcasters. Sir, thank you so much for joining us again here on Right Side.
It's great to be with you today. Thank you.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about the one thing I'm seeing out there, and I know you guys are working on this too, is the whole thing. We like FM radio, but AM radio is getting a lot of slack and a lot of heat. I think AM radio should stay around, and tell us your thoughts about that.
Well, we agree with you. We think AM radio should stay around, and I think 80 million people who still listen to AM radio think it should stay around as well. As you know, car manufacturers, they have decided that they think AM radio is old and obsolete and doesn't need to be in the car anymore. Originally, they came out and said, well, it interferes with our electric vehicle, and then they just came out and said it needs to go away altogether. So we have been working hard on a bill in Congress called the AM Radio in Every Vehicle Act to ensure that AM radio stays in the vehicle and people have a choice to get free over-the-air content and not have to worry about subscribing through their dash every time they want to listen to something.
Also, isn't it for safety reasons too within cell phones? I mean, if cell towers ever go out in a situation, you know, we always hear that National Weather Service, the tone and dial sound and all that, right?
That's exactly right. The only hardened emergency alert system across this country depends on AM radio as its backbone. There are over 70 stations that have backup generators. They have extra reinforced walls and towers and other things to ensure that they can be on the air to broadcast that information. And look, I lived in Florida. When a hurricane comes through, I can tell you your cell service is gone. That's one of the first things that's out. Storms interfere with television coverage. And even FM radio doesn't get the strength to get through the storms as much as AM radio does. And so that's very important to our country.
It's so important. And now that, you know, you're with the National Religious Broadcasters and we're talking AM radio, how could you not talk about those two things when it comes to the great Rush Limbaugh? Your thoughts about Rush back in the day. Did you, if you're driving to the store, if you're on a long drive on a highway, did you always look for I know I did. I looked on the radio dial, I'm like, where's Rush?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Clicking through that dial, that AM radio dial. And the nice thing about AM radio over FM was you could find Rush, and then you'd have him for the next 100 miles plus. you didn't have to go, oh, where's the next station with Rush? He really did, revitalized AM radio when it came to informational radio and conservative talk. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, and AM radio was always the place you went to get any kind of information, the weather report, the ag report, all of the things that were going on out there. And like I said, look, 80 million people today still listen to AM radio on a regular basis. So it's by far not a dead medium out there to communicate.
Exactly. Speaking of radio and speaking of Rush, yesterday on my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez, I posted a segment. I think it's about maybe a minute long, and it's a liberal caller called in, and I'm just going to play it just off my phone, and I'm sure you'll be able to hear it. And then I want to get your reaction as to, authentic, genuine, the great pipes that, Rush had, and listen to this situation here. Again, this is a liberal caller, and listen to how Rush Limbaugh is able to take care of business here.
All right, Fred in St. Louis, you're next. It's great to have you on the program. Fred, how you doing?
I'm fine. Rush, let's just take a look at the 2% of the time where you're completely and utterly wrong. Your hypocrisy is kind of amazing. You're so upset, and I sense even scared that this investigation is taking place. You're kind of scared as to what they might find. He's talking about the Russia. And it's just starting. It may be going on for a couple of months, but the investigation is just starting. You weren't upset when Clinton was being investigated for the Benghazi incident. You wanted a full investigation for that, didn't you?
Yeah, there's all kinds of evidence there that she had been derelict in her duty. Four people died in Benghazi. Is this the best you've got? to sit here and claim that I was interested in getting to the truth about Benghazi, where 4 Americans died because of the incompetence and laziness of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who was off the grid during the whole time. We couldn't even find him. And you think because I wanted to get to the bottom of that, I don't want to get to the reason there's no bottom here. Fred, the problem with this is there is no bottom. You just said the investigation just began, and you don't know that. If we've been reading the media, this investigation has been going on since even before Trump was nominated. Comey said today this investigation has been going on since last July. Fred, old buddy, old pal, this is a hell of a long time to have no evidence whatsoever. There's no bottom to get to here. And I'm not scared, Fred. I don't do scared. I am pissed.
The caller
Classic Rush.
Yeah, the caller calls in talking about the Russia hoax, and then you saw what happened there. Can you believe that? That was years ago.
Yeah, years ago. Wouldn't you like to get a hold of that caller today and say, hey, you want to repeat that call? Look, this is classic Rush, and this is the way you answer the left. You don't back down. He's not scared. He knows the situation, knows the facts, talks about it. But that's why people tune in to conservative talk radio. There's no propaganda there. There's no lies going on. Just let's talk about the truth. Let's talk about this and get this out in the open. And that's just the way it is. And that's the #1 genre on AM radio. Christian talk and teach is right behind it. Then sports talk, and then Spanish. So, when we started looking at this, we knew right away this was not about a $35 part in a car. This was about control of information and who's going to be the gatekeeper in your car. And we don't need any more gatekeepers in this country.
Exactly. That's perfectly put. Let's just talk about the sports aspect of AM radio. I'm looking at New York City and these other places, man. They like their AM sports talk. Let's be real about that, don't they?
They do. They do. You love it around the country. That's where you want to get to. You want to know what's going on. And these car manufacturers know that. And so they want you to get the subscription, but the subscription is only part of the revenue. The big revenue is, again, Big Brother watching everything you do, because once you have that subscription, they're going to track all of your listening habits, and they're going to sell that data. That's where the marketing is. And look, the public interest, and we just talked about this with the Federal Communications Commission. When radio was started and when broadcast was started, the government recognized there's a public interest to this. And that's free over-the-air broadcasting to give consumers their choice and not to have us be charged for everything that we have to do in this country, and not to have any gatekeepers. So we're working this bill so that the consumers can have that choice. They can decide to listen to AM radio, FM radio, or get a subscription. They don't have to be mandated to do this by the auto manufacturers.
Long live AM radio, and a shout out to KDKA, the first radio station in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Troy, thank you so much for joining us with the National Religious Broadcasters. Sir, thank you again.
Thanks for having me.